Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Nuggets of Life Youth Connect virtual forum. I'm happy to see all of you guys here. Thank you for really just taking your time to be here to learn a few things, get some, wise words. Yeah, and I just want to welcome everyone, whether you're part of this mentorship, whether you got this invite somewhere, probably on social media. We're happy to have you guys here. And without taking so much time, maybe I can introduce myself. My name is Halide Muleshe. I am part of this mentorship program, Nuggets of Life, and I also come in as a moderator today. Yeah, and I'm just going to bring in Joseph, who is one of the mentors, to give us a brief introduction on Nuggets of Life before we get into the session. So feel free to put in the chat where you're joining us from and how you feel about today, what you're expecting to get from this session. Feel free to put that in the chat. Thank you. Joseph, over to you.
Thank you, Holiday. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joseph Karanja, and I'm one of the mentors and nuggets of life. And I'm happy to be here today and looking forward to a good interaction with you. So mine is to introduce nuggets of life. And I want to start it off with a question to those who are here. I just want to ask you, if you were to take a travel or to embark on a journey to probably say if in Kenya you want to travel to South Africa or abroad, a journey that will take you a number of days, how would you prepare for that journey? I don't know whether there is anyone who would be willing to tell us how they prepare for that kind of a journey. Anyone? Okay, maybe the context is not very clear, but I would say if I was to travel to South Africa and do a road trip, and I've not been there before, I would ask around for people who have gone to South Africa or people who know about it, Google and do all that and get to know how I can get to South Africa, how do I travel, by air, by road, or whatever it is. And of course, if it's by road, it's a number of days. Okay? Now, the same case would happen to anyone who is out there, probably in UAE or US or whatever, if you are to embark on a long journey. And basically, when you ask is so that you can know how to travel there, how do you get to book a ticket, how are you going to, which countries are you going to go through, or what are the challenges, and all that. And basically, anyone who is more organized or who wants to get quick information, they will engage a tour travel agency because they would probably have done that before. They've organized tours for people. They probably do a trip before they also get to organize for people. So they have an idea and they will tell you if you're traveling to South Africa, probably you'll pass through country 1, 2, 3. You'll do a stop here and there. You can fuel here and there. You need these kind of currencies and it will take you 5 days or 2 days. Then you have a clear path or thought of how your travel will be like. So the tour travel would help you a lot in getting to know how to get there. So someone who's been there will guide you and your journey will be easier. It is with the same kind of thoughts that the founder of Nuggets of Life figured out that in her generation, there were no mentors. There were very few mentor figures, and it was not organized like it is today. And it was your own initiative to go look out for someone who can be your mentor to guide you on how to navigate through life. And it was completely hard. Of course, you had to fight for yourself to be able to figure out. And it's through that she realized that probably then we can be able to start up something that will help the young generation of today so that they don't have to struggle like they struggled those days. And basically, that's how Nuggets of Life was born in the year 2020. And the founder looked around and figured out, on the screen you can see a flower there, which is called the lotus flower. And basically, that is the flower that inspires Nuggets of Life and its operations. And it inspires Nuggets of Life because of what it symbolizes. The flower symbolizes purity, strength, resilience, and rebirth. And basically, you can go and look around and see what more talk about. So basically, what then inspired, that is what inspired this. And I'll pick a few quotes regarding the flower from Jennifer Williamson. And she says that the lotus flower is a reminder of the beauty that comes from change, the magic that a new beginning brings, and the seed of potential that's buried in the most unlikely places. An unknown person said that just like the lotus, we too have the ability to rise from the mud, bloom out of the darkness, and radiate into the world. Melanie Williamson again says that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. No, our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? That is what Marianne Williamson said. Let's move on to the next slide. And the vision bearer of Nuggets of Life went down and picked, or rather came up with a mission. And the mission is to build strong minds, character, and communities through mentorship and leadership development. She envisions a generation of effective leaders who positively impact their communities and beyond. Nuggets of Life core values include service, inspiration, resilience, hope, and accountability. In service, Nuggets of Life is committed to her mission with dedication, selflessness, and excellence, and puts the needs of others before personal gain. Inspiration, Nuggets of Life encourages others to believe in their potential, and particularly the youth. Resilience, Nuggets of Life fosters confidence, problem solving, and long-term success, helping people thrive in the ever-changing world. Hope, encouraging a positive outlook, believing in possibilities, courage to work towards a better future, even in difficult times. And accountability, it's taking responsibility for one's decision and commitments, being transparent and owning up to mistakes. Mistakes happen, but responsible people normally take up or own the mistakes and take responsibility. The core mandates of Nuggets of Life is to solve three problems. Problem number one is a generation of youth deficient of the core competencies and soft skills needed for life and work. So Nuggets of Life responds to this by fostering critical thinking, problem solving, public speaking, teamwork, professional writing, digital literacy, leadership, professional attitude, work ethic, career management, and intercultural fluency. Problem number two is inadequate access to mentorship and leadership development for transition into the marketplace. That is the workplace and all that. And Nuggets of Life responds to this by offering real-world insights and expertise from experienced professionals who are the mentors, teaches workplace best practices and professional etiquette. Number three is mental health vulnerabilities associated with youth unemployment. Not to mean it's only the youth who have mental challenges, even older people, the young ones, and all that. And Nuggets of Life responds to this by addressing mental health vulnerabilities through resilience building and positive youth development. Moving on to the program that Nuggets of Life runs, it is anchored on 5 pillars. These pillars include identity, emotional intelligence, leadership, goal setting and career planning, communication skills, and presentations. For identity, we ask ourselves a few questions and we help the youth ask themselves this question: who am I? Whose am I? What makes me? And personal branding. When one is able to answer these questions, they are able to pick up their purpose and understand themselves. Emotional intelligence, this is in growth, mindset, and confidence. Leadership, that is personal leadership. In any case, if you're not able to lead yourself and guide yourself in many areas, then you are not able to become a good leader. And time management, which is very critical. Uh, then we have communication skills and presentations, which includes presentations, ability to speak in public, do your presentations, and all that. This program is implemented through these three modalities. Number one, year-long cohort mentorship. That is where we have a recruitment or onboarding a number of mentees who come and run through a program for 1 year. Then we have youth connection virtual experience that, such as the one we are having today. We come up with a topic which will be helpful to the young people. And then every other 2 months or so, we come up with that and be able to discuss the same, get a speaker who is an expert in the field, and you're able to discuss the topic. Then we have Youth Connect outreach, where we reach out to different youths out there once in a while. Then how do we deliver this? This is done through workshops, through motivational speakers or guests like the one we'll have today. Then we have mentors, that is life on life, when people are paired and they're able to discuss and one is able to guide a mentee through. Then we have mentorship calls. Mentorship calls is like in the cohort program, where you're able to get a call to your mentee, or the mentee is able to call the mentor, and they're able to discuss, guide one another, and how to navigate through life. Then we have digital resources. This is workbooks and assignments for practical application of ideas that is usually done mainly by the cohort, through the cohort program. Then we have fireside chats. When you get into a cohort, then you're able to have bi-weekly discussions, that's peer discussions, and sometimes also have someone come from outside and discuss with the team on various topics and the progress and challenges that people are running through. Then we have the alumni, where we get to engage the alumni who have graduated from the cohort mentorship, and they are able to engage the new cohorts or basically assist in the various programs that we run. Then moving on, I mentioned about the 1 year program. We've had cohort 1 and cohort 2, where we've had them run through 1 year and get to graduate successfully. Of course, start with them planning and basically listing out the goals that they want to achieve through the 1 year program, where you run through, monthly online discussions and all that, fireside chats, and then eventually get to a period where a mentee is paired to a mentor, depending on the field which they are in, and they're able to engage and assist the mentee one-on-one for a period of at least 6 months or more. And this cohort 1 and cohort 2 have already gone through the program and graduated. Currently, you can move on, Rachel. Currently, we are running through cohort number 3, which started last year around July, and they're still running and should be coming through the program in a bit. Then we talked about outreach. We've had successful outreaches out there, which is usually once in a while. We've had an outreach to Muranga, Gaturi Girls, one at Kenyatta University School of Law, Parkland campus, Gatundu at Elite Chris Academy. We've also annually engaged St. Joseph Mahiga Catholic Youth, which is at the Diocese of Nyeri. We also have an annual outreach to Christ the King Gashika Catholic Church in Diocese of Nairobi. That happens annually. If we can move on. Then, through the virtual forums, such as the one we are having today, to discuss a particular topic, we have went through a number of programs over time. Looking at the screen, you can see we've been able to engage and discuss topics like cultivating a growth mindset. We've had the time to discuss youth entrepreneurship. We have discussed feeding the right balance in decision making, how to do your CV, self-packaging, and leveraging on the digital space, mental health, well-being. We've also been able to discuss how to navigate the evolving job market. And we've also been able to discuss about things to do with financial independence, financial growth. We've discussed things to do with healthy relationships and all that, all done by speakers either from the mentorship pool or from outside the speakers. If we can move on. And then these are the mentees who went through the cohort 1 program. This is cohort 2. These are the people who went through the program. This is the team which is currently running through cohort number 3 mentees, and I'm sure most of them are here in this program today. Now, these are our mentors. If you have a closer look or look through our website, you will note they come from different fields and industries, have a lot of experience, and this is what they get to share with the mentees. And yeah, those are our mentors, and they're the ones who help the agent keep running in this at Nuggets of Life. If we can move on. Basically, that is who Nuggets of Life is, and you can engage us more to get to know more about us, or basically just get into the conversation and, share your thoughts, and we can keep moving on. So those are our social handles that you can be able to reach us out from us and engage with us. Thank you. That is it from me. Holiday.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for that detailed introduction. So just like Joseph has mentioned, if you guys want to interact more with us, our social media links have been shared on the chat, as well as the WhatsApp channel link. Feel free to join us, connect with us, engage with us, and we'll be happy. So thank you so much for that, Joseph. So now I'd like to bring in our guest speaker of the day. We are happy to be graced by this speaker because he's from Zambia. He's also a youth like most of us, so he understands, the challenges that we go through. And looking specifically at this specific topic on emotional intelligence in action, he's able to navigate that as well. So Brian, karibu sana. Yeah, I'll let you do your introduction so that I don't do any injustice. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. We're happy to have you, and take it away.
Thank you so much, Holiday. I'm actually happy to be here. And when I received that phone call from you, Holiday, I was very, very excited to say this is the opportunity for me to share with my colleagues in Kenya. We, as Africa, we face the same problems as young people. And I believe with these problems that we face, the challenges are quite similar. And I was very excited looking at the topic, emotional intelligence in action. This is one of those conversations that we do not learn from school. I've done quite a number of papers. I have 2 degrees, and I've done a lot of certificates, a lot of trainings, but I haven't attended any of classes that will talk about emotional intelligence. And this is one topic that we do not learn from school, but we learn them from spaces like this one. And I might say, I'm very excited to have you. And I must make mention to say this topic that we're talking about today is not only a topic for Brian, it's not only a topic for Holiday, it's not only a topic for Joseph, but it is a topic for all of us. Let us participate, interact. If you have a question, you may just raise up your hands so that we, together with the team, handle the questions. So, like Harry mentioned, my name is Mwene Brian from Zambia. I'm a youth representative at the Youth Platform 360, an organization, the largest youth and adolescent network in Zambia. I'm also a health professional, and I've had experience in a lot of areas, especially when it comes to youth engagement, meaningful participation. I've sat on different boards. I've sat on different conversations just to make sure that young people are actively involved when it comes to policy formation as well as implementing those policies. And today we are talking about emotional intelligence in action, navigating tough conversations. So this is our topic for today. And Holiday, we can go to the next slide. So some of you might have read a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Victor. So Victor in this book says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. So this is related to emotional intelligence. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a cup of tea. This is a cup of tea, and someone bumps into you. What spills out of that cup of tea is tea itself. That is what our emotions are. If someone gets on our nerve, what comes out is what is inside us. And if you are able to control that which is inside, that is emotional intelligence. And that you do not learn from school. So we can go to the next slide. So throughout our careers, throughout our journey, we are going to face conversations like this one. 90% of our performing readers score high in emotional intelligence. This was according to the research done by Gozman. So according to this research, it was noticed that top leaders, 90% of them score high when it comes to emotional intelligence. And when it comes to relationship, how you handle conflict determines whether trust is going to grow or it is going to erode. So when it comes to relationships, conflict resolution, very, very important. And when it comes to conflict resolution, for you to be able to resolve difficulties or differences that people have, you need to be emotionally intelligent. And when it comes to our personal growth, every difficult conversation is a rehearsal for the leader you're becoming. And from what Holiday mentioned when he was asking about what Nuggets of Life is about, she mentioned to say these are a group of young people that are very ambitious, young people that are determined, young people that want to take the space. These are the future leaders of Africa, the business men and women that we were going to have in the next few years. And I believe this is what we need. We need to have those difficult conversations. Why? Simply because they are shaping us to be the leaders that we are becoming. So this is an important topic because of these three things that I've mentioned: our careers, our relationship, and our personal growth. I think we can now move on, Rachel. So why is emotional intelligence important compared to intelligent quotient? So we have these two. We have IQ and EQ. So others may argue to say IQ is very important. I'm not saying IQ is not important. I'm saying it is important, but compared to emotional intelligence, I think emotional intelligence is more important, simply because, let's take for instance these examples that I have. IQ will get you the interview. You may all apply because you're good on paper, you get the interview. But what actually gets you the promotion is how you manage relationships and how you manage your emotions. And when it comes to how these are managed, it means that that is emotional intelligence. You use emotional intelligence to manage relationships, to manage emotions. So IQ will get you the interview, but it's EQ that will get you the promotion. Intelligent quotient will solve technical problems. When you have those technical problems, you and I understand such problems, and that those problems you are able to solve them using your intelligent quotient, which is IQ. But when it comes to people problem, when it comes to problems that involve people, human beings, it's actually emotional intelligence that works. It is your emotional quotient that works. Let's take, for instance, there is an argument. In an argument, their emotions are heated, people are frustrated, others are angry, and for you to be able to manage these problems, for you to be able to resolve these conflicts, you need to be emotionally intelligent. You need to understand what another person is feeling and how you need to be able to also read the room. Then another thing is IQ fixed by early adults. So as you grow, this IQ, usually in most cases, it comes out of growth. As you grow, it is it's there. Then at some point, it reduces in the actual, in the sense of let me put it like this. So when it comes to IQ, as you are growing, it is also growing. As you're getting experience, it is also growing. But you reach a stage where its growth is minimal. And when it comes to EQ, where we're talking about our emotions, it is trainable our whole entire life. You could be 18 today, you could be 30, and you keep on training. Then measured by a single test, that is IQ. There's the emotional, yeah, the IQ scale. There we're able to mention this one is below average, this one is above average, this one is retarded. That is what we use. But when it comes to emotional quotient, we are saying it is shown through conversations. Like I mentioned earlier, it is how you handle these conversations. So this is why this conversation matters. So we can go to the next slide. So before I talk about what emotional intelligence is, I want to find out from you guys that are on the call, what, according to your own understanding, how do you understand emotional intelligence? How would you define emotional intelligence according to, it could be what I've said or what you know about it? So you can just simply raise your hand so that we hear from you, and just get to know what you think about what emotional intelligence is. Anybody from on the call, anyone, just to say something about what emotional intelligence is? Anyone on the call, just to talk about what emotional intelligence is? Right. So it's unfortunate that we do not want to at least say something about what emotional intelligence is, but you can still drop a message. It could be in the chat, just to, yes, I see Evelyn is raising her hand. So Evelyn, please go ahead, just unmute your mic and tell us what you think emotional intelligence is.
I think, thank you for the opportunity. For me, emotional intelligence is just the ability to recognize that you have a particular emotion, whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you're frustrated. And then now, after you have recognized that that emotion is what you're harboring, how do you manage it in such a way that it does not maybe kind of conflict with the other person, or it does not spill over negatively to another person? So basically, just to recognize your emotions and then to manage it in such a way that is productive rather than in the negative.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Evelyn. And that is very, very amazing. You've brought out what I actually wanted to say. Emotional intelligence, according to what you've mentioned, and that's very, very brilliant. You mentioned about knowing your emotions, knowing, am I sad, am I happy, and being able to manage those emotions. Kudos to you, Evelyn. That is very, very brilliant. So, according to what I understand, so emotional intelligence is the ability to notice what you feel, manage how you react, and read the room before you speak. So, for me, emotional intelligence is not just about you yourself, but also the people around you. Are you able to read the room before you speak? And we're going to talk about the four pillars. These, I call them the four pillars of emotional intelligence. There is one, self-awareness, just like Evelyn mentioned, being able to know what you're feeling at that particular time. Am I happy? Am I sad? Am I excited? Then the second one is self-management. She mentioned about managing those emotions. And this is the second pillar of emotional intelligence, self-management. You are sad. How do you manage that emotion of being sad? You are around people. It could be a workplace. It could be in a class setup. It could be in a relationship setup. It could be in a home setup. You are upset. You are angry. You are excited. How do you manage those emotions? That is self-management. Then another pillar that I'm going to talk about is social awareness. That's where you talk about the people around you. That's where you talk about those people that are around you. It could be in a workplace, like I mentioned earlier. Those people around you, how do you manage them? Then the another pillar, that is our last pillar for emotional intelligence, is relationship management. That is where now you manage people. How do you read people? How do you influence people in a positive way? Those are the pillars of I call them the pillars of emotional intelligence, and these are what we're going to talk about um, in the next few minutes. So we go to our next slide. So the first pillar, like I mentioned earlier, is self-awareness. Know yourself first. You cannot lead others minus you knowing yourself. So under the self awareness, I'm going to talk about what I call this 360 feedback. The people around you. There are things that you yourself do not know about yourself. And the only people that can tell you about those are the people around you. It's funny how we never experience how other people experience us. So it's only them that can tell you and not yourself. So you can, it could be your friends, it could be your supervisor in a workplace, it could be even your classmate if you're still in school or you are still a student. You just ask, how does it feel to be around me? What are the things that I do not notice that you think have an impact on how other people perceive me? Because it's only them that know how it is to be around you and not yourself. So first of all, understand your strengths. What am I good at? What am I good at? Understand your strengths. Number two, recognize your weaknesses. This is very, very important in as much as we talk about our strengths and how ambitious we are. We might say, I speak very well, I write, I read. Those are your strengths, quite all right. But what are your weaknesses? What is that's something, if somebody was to touch on that one, that would be actually be your downfall. So you have to know your weaknesses. Then again, you have to know your values and character. If there's one thing that you cannot compromise, that defines who you are your values. Because That is one of the most important thing, because through your values, people get to experience who you are, because there are certain things that are a no-go area for you. And by virtue of them being your no-go area, other people will see you in a certain way. And that is um, part of your self-awareness, knowing your values and your character. And remember about the 360 feedback. The people around you, those are the people to give you the best feedback when it comes to knowing yourself, knowing how other people perceive you, knowing how it feels to be around you, because people around you are the ones that have those answers. Then do reflect on yourself regularly. It's very, very important. Many are the times that because of the noise around us, social media, we fail to sit alone and just have those one-on-one conversations, you versus you, just talking to yourself. Where did I miss it? How do I improve myself? That is very, very important when it comes to knowing yourself, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence. So this is about our first pillar, which is self-awareness. So under self-awareness, always remember 360 feedback. The people around you are the ones to give you the feedback. So we go to our next pillar, which is the next pillar, the next slide, which is so when we talk about, so yeah, we go to our next slide, please, Holiday. Yeah, so our next slide is self management. So self management, first of all, know your emotions. Second, manage those emotions. Here you cannot control other people, you cannot lead other people minus controlling yourself. First of all, discipline yourself, regulate yourself, know yourself first, control yourself second. How do you do that? Regulate your emotions. You are happy. Too much happiness is also a problem. When you are sad, how do you control? How do you regulate those? You have to know to say, here I'm too excited, I have to come back to normal. Here I'm sad, but I have people around me. This what I'm feeling is not supposed to affect the relationship that I have with the people around me. You have to stay calm under pressure. Many are the times that as young people will be faced with a lot of pressure, especially in between our mid 20s as towards our mid 30s. So there we are going to face a lot of pressure, and it is a skill to always stay calm under pressure. Then you have to adapt to change. The world is changing, the people around us are changing, and it is only wise that even us, we choose to evolve, to change, to adapt to whatever situation that we're put in. Then we also have to build resilience. This is very important. We are going to face a lot of challenges, and it's not right for young people to give up. And I've seen this. I don't know about I don't know about Kenya, but in Zambia, I've seen quite a number of young people giving up at an early age. How do you give up? You're only 25. We are saying you need to build resilience. Then, as young people, always remain optimistic and practical. I'm not saying you should use hope as a strategy. There are people that oftentimes use hope as a strategy. Everything is going to be fine, but what are you doing for things to be fine? So it is you being practical, you getting the work done, and always remain optimistic. So we go to our next slide, which is social management. So we go to the next slide, social awareness. How do you read people? Not just words. When there are people that quite all right would speak to you, but there are other people that are always silent. There are others are introverts, others are extroverts, just like that, depending on the nature of the person. So for those people that do not actually say much, how are you able to communicate with them? How are you able to get the best out of them? You could be a leader, you could be a team lead, how do you manage the people around you? How do you inspire others, those people that are around you, even just yourself? How do you portray yourself when it comes to those group assignments, those group works that you have? How do you show yourself to others? So one most important thing, and I mentioned this when I was talking about what emotional intelligence is all about, is reading the room. You are supposed to have this in your mind. You have to read the room. How is it? Is it hot in here? How are the tempers of the people? How are the moods of the people? By you being able to read the room, it means that you're able to even you can even maybe even have an idea of what may come out of that room. Let's say, for example, you enter a room where people are just arguing. The next thing that you would think of is people getting physical. That is you being able to read the room. Then listen beyond words. Like I mentioned, there are people that have few words. That's their nature. That's the way they are. But how are you able to get the best out of them? How are you able to listen beyond the words that they speak? It could be the gestures that they have, the body language. How are you able to notice all that? Then another thing that you need to do is to pay attention to the tone of their voices. There are other people, it could be they're sad. You'd obviously expect them to have a low tone of voice, but in psychology there's what we call incongruent affect, where a person may be sad but they on their top of their voices. When they're speaking, you can literally you can't even know that these people are sad. But when you ask them, they will say, me, I'm sad, and this and that, and you're able just to connect with them. So you have to be able to just lead, to be able to listen beyond the words that other people speak. Then adapt your response. So obviously when you're speaking to someone who is very angry, or maybe the conversation is heated, it's not right that you also join that. Let's say, for example, someone is shouting again, you also start shouting yourself. That you're not doing any good when it comes to resolving those issues that you have. So it is only right that we adapt your response according to what is around you. You read the room and you see how the moods, the tempers of the people are, and you're able to adapt. Here, I have to be calm. I know there's a lot of pressure, but I have to be calm. So that is under the social awareness. We go to our next slide, which is relationship management. This is very, very important. Like I mentioned earlier, parts of our careers, yes, they are going to be shaped by how intelligent we are when it comes to IQ, but yes, IQ will get you the job, but what gets you the promotion is how you manage relationship. How do you bring people together? You could be in a workplace. How do you manage to keep people together? There are people, young people, that when they just join a group, that group is going to dismantle. I don't know why, but this can be associated to emotional intelligence. Those people do not have emotional intelligence. Their emotional intelligence is very low. They are not able to read the room. They are not able to manage those relationships. How do you manage relationships? Number one, you build trust. You have to be a trustworthy person. You have to be you need to have integrity. If there's one thing that you cannot trade is your integrity, and integrity often builds trust. When people are able to trust you, they're able to give you opportunities, and there's very, very little competition in this I call it an industry, because look, yes, we may talk about our papers. It could be others have got master's degrees, others have got just diplomas. But look, if you are able to manage relationship, people give opportunities to people they like. People give uh, jobs to people that they like. And imagine if you're this person that people don't like, how are they going to give you those opportunities? So it is through our emotional intelligence that we are able to manage these relationships. And if you manage these relationships, it means that you'll be a likable person. I'm not saying you should go out there and just be a people pleaser. No, I'm just saying you should be someone that is trustworthy, someone that is reliable, someone that is able to influence people positively, someone who is able to manage conflicts, someone who is able to coach others, to lead others, to influence others positively, someone who is able to encourage teamwork, someone who is able to collaborate. Remember, we also mentioned about adaptability. Whatever situations, whatever group that you're put in, if you're able to adapt and manage very well, that means that you're emotionally intelligent and you're able to manage these relationships. And eventually, if you manage these relationships very well, that's where even the opportunities come from. Because remember, people give opportunities to people they like. And if you manage these relationships very well, you can be one of those people that are offered these opportunities because look, you're trustworthy, you have integrity, you are able to influence people, and you're able to manage these relationships. So that is very important. So these were our 4 pillars of emotional intelligence. And I think we've picked 1 or 2 things when it comes to these 4 pillars. So we go to our next slide, which is navigating tough conversations. So from understanding our emotional intelligence to using it in moments that matters the most. Now that you know that you have to manage these relationships, now that you know that you have to be self-aware, now that you know that you have to be social aware, now that you understand that you have to manage yourself. But then there are those conversations that we avoid. How do you use your emotional intelligence to navigate these tough conversations? This is what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes. So we go to our next slide. So I want us to pause and just reflect. It could be just for 30 seconds as I'm talking, just reflect. Think of one conversations that you've been avoiding. Why haven't you had it yet? Each one of us, we are over 30 on this call. And I believe each one of us have got that conversation that they've been avoiding to have. Ask yourself, why have I been avoiding this conversation? It could be a conversation with your boss. It could be your conversation with your colleague. It could be a conversation with it could be your girlfriend, your boyfriend. It could be your husband or your wife. Why have you been avoiding that conversation? Why haven't you had it yet? Think about such a conversation and just give yourself a time just to reflect on why you haven't had that conversation yet. So we go to our next slide. So we talk about navigating a tough conversation. But what is a tough conversation in this context? So a tough conversation is one that feels uncomfortable to have. It is one where the outcome genuinely matters. It is one where emotions are involved on both sides. So it could be a conversation, it could be your boss did not give you the right feedback, it could be criticism, especially these older folks, others do not know how to, it could be give positive criticism, and it could be your boss mentioned something that really got to you, and since then the relationship hasn't been the way it used to be. That conversations, you going to your boss and just sitting having to sit down and also talk about that which affected you, that is what we are calling a tough conversation. In this case, it could be, like I mentioned earlier, a boyfriend girlfriend relationship where you've been having these conversations where both your emotions are involved. This conversation is uncomfortable and the outcome genuinely matters. It could be your boss. Your boss can fire you or your boss can promote you based on these conversations. It could be your relationship may end, or you may get the contract, you may not get the contract based on these conversation. So this is what I'm calling today a tough conversation. One, the conversation is uncomfortable. The outcome of this conversation genuinely matters, and the emotions are involved on both sides. This is what I call a tough conversation. So we go to our next slide. So examples of these tough conversations, like I mentioned earlier, it could be a workplace conflict, receiving criticism. If there's one thing that doesn't settle well, especially to us young people, is when we are receiving criticism, when people are criticizing us for the work that we're doing. It could be you've done to you, it is extremely well, you've done extremely well, but someone comes to give you criticism. Like I mentioned, others may not some criticism may just come out of people. It could be even people that you are actually ahead of. The people that are even behind you are giving you criticism. It could be people that are above you that are giving you criticism. And this is one conversation that doesn't really settle well, especially to us young people. And this is an example of a tough conversation. So it could be negotiating your salary. And you know how, like I mentioned, the older folks would always associate young people to being lazy, young people to always wanting a reward before work, and you are there just negotiating your salary or just wanting your boss to just look into it. That is a very tough conversation because the outcome really matters. This conversation is uncomfortable. In this conversation, both emotions are involved. Then speaking to a rector, it could be on an issue that is very, very difficult. It could be your results, your progress in school, and you need to have this conversation, and you know the outcome really, really matters. And the other one is resolving a misunderstanding, similar to conflict resolution. So under these examples, I am saying the conversations that we avoid today often become the problems that we face tomorrow. So some of us may just sit back and say, you know what? I'm not attending to these conversations. Like I mentioned, there's that conversation that you and I have been avoiding. There's that conversation that you and I haven't had. It could be with the people around us. So the more we avoid that conversation, the more problems we face tomorrow. It could be your salary, and someone you can someday you can just burn out and just speak your mind, and the way you will come out, because a lot of emotions are involved, that will also affect the outcome. So the earlier we have these conversations, the better. So we go to our next slide. So why haven't we had these conversations? Why haven't we had these tough conversations? Sometimes it's because of fear of rejection. It could be girlfriend boyfriend relationship. It could be in a family setup. You fear that people are not going to understand you. People are not going to get that which you are saying, and you fear rejection. Then fear of saying the wrong things. Sometimes the way you may come out. Sometimes you think you may not come out in a way that another person may feel good about. Then fear of making things worse. Imagine it's in a workplace, the relationship with your boss is toxic. Then you add a conversation where you want your salary to be increased, that you fear that it may be worse. Then fear of conflict. Misunderstandings are everywhere. For as long as you're a human being, for as long as you are in a space where other people are found, conflicts are always going to be there. And sometimes we may not have these conversations because we fear that you may just start up a conflict. Then fear of damaging the relationship. This is one of the major cause of why we do not have these conversations. We fear that the relationship that we share may be damaged. So these are some of our fears, and we go to our next slide. So every difficult conversations has one purpose, and that purpose is to solve the problem without creating another. If you're going into an argument, if you're going into a conversation with the idea of you winning, it means you've already lost the conversations. You've lost that relationship. Winning an argument doesn't always mean that you've built the relationship. In most cases, when you go with the mentality of winning the argument, often those are relationships that do not actually go well. It could be the relationship might end because to you, what you want is to win the argument and not actually understand the other person. So every conversation is an opportunity and not a battle. So guide the conversation. Don't try to control the person. Don't try to control the person at all costs. You could be a leader in this case. You could be a leader in this case. You could be a team lead in this case. Do not go with an idea of you wanting to control another person. Then treat the moment as a chance to grow and not to win a fight. Like I mentioned earlier, this is not a time for you to say, I have to win this conversation. This is a time for you to learn. This is a time for you to grow. And this is a time for you to build that relationship. Remember, we mentioned about relationship management. And this is where these conversations, when the conversations are uncomfortable, when the conversations um, are involving our emotions, this is where we need to exercise a lot of patience, a lot of room for growth. Don't go with anticipation. I already know what you're going to say. I already know what she's going to say. If you go with that mentality, it means that you already have in you already have the response, and whatever the other person says, it's going to have a very, very, very little impact.
Is it my net or we've lost Brian?
I think we lost him.
Okay, let me reach out to him.
As he comes back, if you have any questions, any feedback, you can share in the chat, then we can discuss after he's done.
Yeah, feel free to share your questions in the chat or to raise your hand to say something. Feel free to do that as well. As we're waiting for Brian to join, Joseph, I don't know if you have any input on this topic today that we're having around emotional intelligence in action and navigating transitions, just from a men. I'm thinking maybe you can share something with us as Brian gets in and as people put their questions in the chat.
Thank you, Holiday. I think what I hadn't prepared to say anything, but what I may do is probably pick a few highlights I have picked from the conversation with Brian. And amongst them is around the self-awareness. What I've picked is the need to have, a conversation with oneself, you-to-you conversation that help you, every now and then that help you appreciate who you are. It gives you better self-awareness. The other one is on self-management. It's key. He talks about always stay calm under pressure. I think this is one thing that is very, very critical because we tend to blow up or get angry and we are unable to manage our anger and all that when we get into situations where there is a lot of pressure. I'm talking particularly about anger, and we are easily able to react with a lot of range, and it can be very destructive. I noted recently in Kenya, we had this school in Thika where a young boy was, two boys had an altercation and it ended up with a fight and one of them lost their life. And yet we know that could have been managed by controlling our anger. Because even if you are the one who is aggrieved, imagine if you get to fight someone and they end up dying or, getting to critical situation. How do you get to live with that? And it was just at the nick of time, you get to react angrily, fight and with range, and you get into a lot of trouble. Someone has lost life. How do you live with that? So I think it's very important that we try to stay calm all the time. And I see this running not just for the youth, but for cuts across the ages from little children, youth, older people, because this is the same thing we transfer to the roads when people who are driving and someone cuts, ahead of you, and now you start hurling insults, you start fighting and all that, or you are in a queue and somebody cuts ahead of you unfairly and you start fighting and, at the end of the day, it becomes very catastrophic. So it's very important to manage the pressure. When we are under a lot of pressure, we should be able to manage so that it doesn't escalate. And the other thing is under social awareness. It's talking about us listening beyond the words. When people are having a conversation, again, probably it's a charged conversation. And sometimes we just, and this is how you also manage the escalations or, de-escalating issues. When you listen beyond the one, because somebody may be conversing and then they start getting agitated and use words which are not very nice. So you can be able to pick beyond those words that there is something else beyond that. And you will be the better person by emotionally noting that you do not escalate the matter, but de-escalate to avoid critical situations. Then relationship management. He talked about us influencing positively wherever we are, whether it is in school, workplace, in church, and mosques. Wherever we are, we should be able to influence positively. Sometimes, and basically, this thing around anger and pressure and all that, where people are quick to act and basically where things are not going right, and instead of cooling things off, they add fuel into the fire and it lights up. Number two, people are going to do one or two things. It may be painful or hard or not a very pleasant. Then when we come in, do we give a voice that basically influence positively, or do we give a voice that will basically bring people into defiance and agitation and all that in a bad way? So we should be able to influence wherever we are, whether it's in school or in church, wherever it is, we should be able to be active and basically be able to influence. The other thing he talked about and relationship management, And this is critical when we are looking for jobs, or we are looking for tenders, when we are looking for opportunities. People give opportunities to people they like. So how do people like you? We basically being able to act on our emotional intelligence and knowing how to navigate around people. Who am I talking to? How do I need to relate? How do I stay focused, calm, under pressure, and all that, so that I can be a likable person? Do you just jumping into conversations without first of all listening the context and all that, so that then people will be able to like you. When you get to talk to them, they'll realize this is so and so, and think I like this guy. He has content and all that, and they will be able to give you an opportunity. And the other critical thing I noted is where he talked about this big question about what are these questions that we've been avoiding to discuss with people or with someone for so long. And he said that the conversation we avoid today often become the problems we face tomorrow. So for me, I've learned there are many conversations that I should be having today with different people, but I am not, because I find them difficult. I find them to be intrusive, or generally I find them difficult and I avoid them. But then again, we're being guided through emotional intelligence that avoiding the conversation doesn't mean that the topic or the matter is not there. So it is something we need to take on and handle it in an intelligent way, or in a way that will help us, resolve the issues that we may be having. Otherwise, we'll be keeping this as a problem for tomorrow, and we'll have compounding problems, and we'll not be able to make progress. So we should be able to know how to handle conversations when they come up. I think, and then again, this is also talking about networking, because this helps you in networking. And when you network, whether you are in uni or you are working or out there looking for a job, you never know where your next contact comes from. Who this person will give you some job, or give you an idea, or link you to someone who can give you a job. So basically, when we get to know how to handle situations, how to engage with people, and how to engage in discussions, because again, we should always, when we are self-aware, then we know what we stand for. Then as you get into conversations, you should know what you're looking for or what it can lead to, so that we're able to package ourselves and be able to engage properly. We create networks. People will like us depending on how we engage. And I think that is where now we get contacts which will end up helping us in life, whether it's jobs, whether it is whatever it is that we need. Contact, or rather networking, helps us keep moving all the time. I think that's what I picked from the conversation we've had so far, which is very enlightening. Halidi.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for that wonderful recap of where we are so far. I see Brian. Brian, are you here? Yeah, I think he has dropped off again. So I think as Brian is joining, we have a question here from Meshach, and he's asking, how do you tell the difference between healthy conflict avoidance and just conflict avoidance dressed up as staying calm? Wow, it's an interesting question. How do you tell the difference between healthy conflict avoidance and just conflict avoidance dressed up as staying calm. I want anyone to volunteer to answer this question for Meshach. Anyone who feels confident enough to answer that.
Holiday, or maybe he could probably clarify his question verbally if he is able to.
Meshach, are you there? I don't know if you're able to speak.
Yes, Holiday. I was just switching my internet.
Oh, Brian,
Apologies
you're back.
to.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I think you can go ahead. Maybe, yeah, just continue, then we'll address the questions.
No problem, Holiday. So like I was talking before I dropped off, I mentioned to say these conversations are not a battle, but an opportunity for us to grow, to learn, as well as to build relationships with the people around us. It could be quite all right, a conversation that is not comfortable, but how will we manage to resolve that which is affecting us is what determines the kind of relationship that we are going to have at the end of the day. So it is very, very important to see these conversations not as a battle, but as an opportunity to learn. So we go to our next slide. So when emotions are high, many of the times, like I mentioned, the way when we get into the room, you will see a lot of if you notice very well, you will see that you are able to lead other people's emotions. And when you lead other people's emotions and you see that the emotions are high, what do you do? You what do people do when their emotions are high? First, people intend to stop listening. You'll be talk if you continue talking, it means that you're not going to communicate because when people's emotions are high, first they stop listening, people become defensive. Whatever you're going to say, them they are going to perceive it as an attack, and they're going to always be defensive. And when people's emotions are high, people focusing on proving themselves right. Remember, these people are defensive, and they see you as one that is attacking them. So what do? It is just normal human response. They intend to go into a fight and flight response where they stop listening. Others may even stop talking. Whatever you're going to say, they are just going to stick to that which they believe. They're going to be very defensive, and they are always going to prove themselves right. So your job in such a in such a situation, is to guide the conversation and not control the person. Remember when we were talking about the pillars of emotional intelligence, we mentioned about relationship management, where we said you're not supposed to control people, rather, you're supposed to guide the conversation. So, this is what we're talking about here. We're applying our emotional intelligence to these difficult, uncomfortable conversations. So, we go to our next slide. So, I'm going to talk about this, which is very, very effective. It has worked for me, and I call it the pause method. These are initials. P is the same pause. A is acknowledge. U is understand. S is speak. And E is end well. So let us look deep into this pause method. So we go to our next slide. So what each step means. So the pause itself, whenever you are in a heated um, argument, it could be those conversations that are very heated. First of all, don't react. What you're supposed to do is to breathe before you react. Breathe. This is just remember the quote that I gave you. First, between our response and what triggers us, There's that moment. That moment is what is going to determine what we're going to respond. And that moment is what I call the pause moment. And that is where you're supposed to just sit, do not react, just breathe first so that you process that which is happening. Then acknowledge. If there's one important thing, I think even mentioned this when she was defining what emotional intelligence means to her. She mentioned about being able to know the emotions that you yourself have and that which the people around you have, and that is naming the room, naming the emotions in the room. You have to understand when you just enter the room, it could be a group discussion, and people are just you are just supposed to, whenever you just enter, you're supposed to lead what is happening in this room. These people's emotions high? Is the argument heated? The emotions of the people too low that whatever I'm going to say, they will not understand because they do not want to understand. So being able to acknowledge what um, is happening, being able to read the room, being able to name the emotion in the room is important when it comes to having these conversations. So first of all, you breathe and you react. Secondly, you breathe before you react, remember? Then, secondly, you acknowledge, name the emotion in the room. Then, understand, ask questions, then listen. If there's one important thing that you are supposed to do, is to understand. And how do you understand? You listen. Do more of the listening than the talking. Remember, in such conversations, people are defensive. People want to prove a point. And if you go in there wanting to talk and not listen, you're not going to understand. And that will defy the whole purpose of you having such a conversation. Then, after you understand, after you acknowledge, after you pause before you react, that's when you speak. Say the honest thing clearly and kindly. Be calm as you speak in such conversations. Then the last E is end well. Agree on concrete next steps. Many are the times that we may just leave these conversations hanging, and the outcome, whatever comes, comes. So if you are in such a situation, you are supposed to try by all means to end well, have an agreement at the end of the day. I know there are some conversations because of emotions that may be heated that may not end with a proper concrete next step, but try by all means to end with this concrete step. You have to share responsibilities to say, as you go, this is what you're supposed to do. As you go, this is what you're supposed to do. So that come next time, you are able to build on where you left it. So this is what I call the pause method in such conversations. You pause before you react. You first take time, acknowledge, name the emotion in the room, understand, ask questions, and then listen, listen, listen. That's when you speak. And make sure, try by all means to end well. So you go to the next slide. So when it comes to these conversations, I know these conversations are uncomfortable. These conversations involve our emotions, and sometimes we are also tempted to respond according to these emotions because I mean these are within us, and sometimes when we do not control them, we tend to respond in a manner that would not help our relationship, the relationship that we share with the people around us. So instead of you saying you always miss deadlines, you are now a leader, you are now a team lead in this group, and it could be you've given each other responsibilities, and you see that other people are not delivering on time. Instead of you saying you always miss deadlines, you can use phrases like, I've noticed the last two deadlines slipped. What's getting on your way? Remember, we said ask a question. This is where it comes. You are trying to understand this person instead of you just drawing your conclusion. You understand. Oh, it could be someone is going through something that may be beyond their control, and that's the reason why they are not delivering on time. So instead of you saying that won't work. Remember, we said emotional intelligence also involves building relationships, being a team leader, being a team player in this case. So instead of you saying this won't work, imagine you're in a team, you're trying to work on something, and you have a member of your team who's saying, this one, it won't work. Another, this one can't work. This one can't work. We are not going to do it. So instead of you saying that, you can say, I see it difficult. Can I share my thinking? That's where now people are able, because you've drawn their attention. Oh, what is this person trying to speak? Instead of you just going to say you cannot do that. So it's very important that when you are saying these things, you are mindful of how you come out. It could be these the sentences that are um on my left and on my right, they're almost similar, but it's just the way you come out that matters. So another set of these statements is I can't right now. Let's say, for example, you've been given a responsibility. Instead of you saying I can't right now, you can say I want to help. Can this wait until it could be Thursday, it could be another day? Can this wait? You're now talking to, it could be your boss. They've given you a responsibility on top of the responsibilities that you have. Instead of you saying I can't do that right now, because that would sound sarcastic and it might not settle well with your boss. So you just say, um, I really want to do this, but can I do this next time? Then another thing that you can say, instead of you just staying silent and avoiding these conversations, you can just say, it could be someone is giving you criticism on the work that you're doing. Instead of you just staying silent and whatnot, you can just appreciate you the person for telling you what they're saying. Thanks for telling me. Let me sit with that and follow up. It could be, like I mentioned, criticism on the work that you're doing. Instead of you just staying silent and being defensive, you can just ask for time to reflect on that which they're saying. And by virtue of you doing that, you're being respectful, and another person may not feel offended. We'll go to our next slide. So the mistakes that we make when it comes to these conversations, the mistakes that derail tough conversations, the first one is interrupting before they finish. Someone is talking and you see this argument is heated, this person's emotions are high, and you want to interrupt them. Remember, these people are defensive. So you want to interrupt them. That conversation, believe me, it goes nowhere, because it means that you guys are not understanding each other. And if you're not a bigger person in this conversation, it means you're not going to get the best out of the conversation. Then going in with a plan for how to start. Remember, I mentioned when you go into a conversation with the mind of you already having the answers, of you preparing, or when they say this, I'm going to respond like that. That would defy the whole purpose of this conversation. And believe me, you are not going to achieve that what you want to achieve. In this case, building the relationship, despite you having these differences. Then waiting until you are already furious. Sometimes people may be talking, and remember, these are, in as much as you manage your emotions, it teaches to a certain extent where even you yourself cannot manage those relationships, and it's normal. That's just being human. And by you waiting for that moment, it means that the way you're going to come out when that moment reaches is going to make another person feel a certain way. And in this case, we are saying you're not supposed to wait until you are at that stage. So the earlier the better. You just have the conversation in a normal tone of your voice. Then making it personal instead of specific. Sometimes it could be in a workplace. It could be at school. You have those issues that are not involving your work, as and you try to bring those issues in the conversation that is work related. It could be a conversation that is outside work, like I mentioned. Then you have a difference at work and you want to bring those personal issues. That is a way that would derail these tough conversation. Then skipping follow-up conversation. Remember, you're supposed to end well, and that doesn't end. You make a follow-up conversation. So if you skip those, it means that all those issues. Remember, those conversations that you avoid today are problems tomorrow. And if you keep skipping them, it means that you're going to have a problem in the future. So, so, so other ways that we can derail these conversations, like I mentioned, there's interrupting, there's raising our voices, like I mentioned, then making assumptions. You already go with the answers, the questions that you haven't even asked the person. So bringing up old issues, the people that if you have conversations with, it could be even in a normal boyfriend girlfriend relationship or in a marriage or even at a workplace. They would remind you of things that you did in 5 years ago. Remember 5 years ago, he even mentioned this. So it means they had waited all that time just to bring up that conversation. And because it has come up at that day, it becomes a problem because it wasn't sorted back those days. So remember the conversation that we avoid today are a problem tomorrow. Then just walking away, that is, you're not resolving anything by walking away. It means that you are leaving those conversations that may be a problem tomorrow. So we go to our next slide as we are winding up. So our challenge, your challenge, what I'm leaving you with today is this week, starting tomorrow, the new week, have one conversation that you'll be avoiding. Use the pause method. Pause, acknowledge, understand, speak, end well. Start small, start honest. Remember, the conversations that we avoid today are a problem tomorrow. And the challenge that I'm giving you today is for you to go and have those conversations you've been avoiding. You can start with one conversation. It could be at work, at school. Have that conversation. Use the pause. Understand why did you come out in that way the other time when you spoke to me? Oh, this, and that. Oh, okay. But is there a way that we can do better? So have that conversation. Remember the pause. Have that conversation. So we go to our next slide. So remember, like I mentioned at the start of this conversation, to say the way we manage our relationships, the way we build relationship is going to matter throughout our career. So your career will be shaped not only by what you know, but the conversations you are brave enough to have. You could be a new employee in a company, and there are those small issues that you think are affecting you. The longer you take to address those problems, those issues, the more problems you are creating for the future. So the earlier the better. Those conversations, those uncomfortable conversations, it could be a salary negotiation with your boss. It could be a promotion that will come because of the relationship that you build. Those are going to shape your career. So we go to our next slide. And this marks the end of my presentation. And I'm saying Twalumba is stronger. It's Zambian is just saying Asante Sana. Thank you very much for your participation and for your attention. And I think, Holiday, with your guidance, we may take questions depending on the time that we have.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, Brian. Yeah, you guys just helped me appreciate Brad. He took his time to be here today. He's actually 1 hour before our time. So, yeah, he woke up pretty early to just be here and motivate you guys. Thank you so much, Brian, for that amazing session, for taking your time, even just last minute, to be here. And yeah, please share your questions, your comments. If you have something to say, raise your hand. Feel free, feel confident to unmute your mic, say something, maybe what you've picked from today's session. But just looking at the questions. Sorry, if someone can copy paste for me the question or read it. I think I've lost mine because I had dropped out for a minute. So if someone can read those questions, I would appreciate. There's some questions that had come in the chat. Thank you for Thank you. I see the question by Meshak has been posted. Thank you for that, Rachel. How do you tell the difference between healthy conflict avoidance and just conflict avoidance dressed up as staying calm? Bran, I don't know if you've got that question. How do you tell the difference between healthy conflict avoidance and just avoidance dressed up as staying calm? Brian, if you're there, you can unmute and maybe help Meshach answer that question. And then the other question is to what to do to revive a relationship after losing it to poor emotional management. So those are the two questions that we have.
All right. Great holiday. So if I got you right, the first question is talking about how do you differentiate between avoiding conflict as well as please let me just
Let me repeat it.
okay.
How do you tell the difference between healthy conflict avoidance and just conflict avoidance dressed up as staying calm?
Great. So the difference is minimal, but in this case, we are talking about those conversations that matter. Imagine the people that you can have conversations with and they're able to understand you at that level. And there are people that have chosen not to understand. And you are in this situation where it is something that is really affecting you. It is something that is going to determine your career or the next step of your career, and you are avoiding such a conversation. It is a conversation. The difference really can be also determined by the outcome of that conversation. It could be a conversation that the outcome really matters, and if you have that conversation, you are able to make progress in that which you're doing. And if you avoid that question, that a conversation, it is going to affect you in one way or the other. But on the other side, we're talking about a conversation that, regardless of the outcome, you two are just going to be to go your separate ways. So I don't know if Harry, you can get what I'm saying, or if I've answered the question.
Yes. Meshach, I hope that's clear. If it's clear, you can just send a reaction there. If you want further clarification, just feel free to post it there as well. The other question, Brian, is from, so Meshach says it's okay. So thank you for that, Brian. The other question from Mohammed is what to do to revive a relationship after losing it to poor emotional management.
Great. So, Muhammad, like we mentioned, we started with emotional intelligence. Then, how does emotional intelligence help us to navigate tough conversations? There are those conversations that we avoided having, or there are those relationships that, for lack of better terms, we messed up because of our emotions. It could be because we were young, because now navigating these tough conversations gives us an opportunity to bring back those relationships. Look, you just sit and just have that honest conversation, and it could be one of the conversation, Muhammad, you've been avoiding to have. So have that conversation, go back and just sit down and just understand. Look, I was young, I messed up, and because of that which I did, I affected you in this way or the other. Now I just want to hear from you. What is it that I can do to 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 at least mend that which I broke? So I mean, all that can be sorted out through these conversations, and these are quite tough conversations because remember, emotions are involved, and the outcome is also it also matters. It could be the relationship may be solved, or the relationships may die. and die for good. So it is through these conversations, it is through using what I call the pause method to have this conversation that can help you to revive this relationship. So, and I think Muhammad, have answered your question. And yeah, we can, if there's any other question, or if you want to a follow-up question, you can please go ahead and just ask.
Thank you for that, Brian. Mohammed, I hope that's okay. The next, we have a comment from one of the mentees of Nuggets of Life. And she's saying, I wanted to appreciate Brian for today's session, as one of my Nuggets of Life goals was to maintain a one-on-one conversation with someone and be able to say no in uncomfortable situations. The session has really helped me. Wow, Brian, you're out here inspiring young people. Thank you so much for that, Were. And then we have someone who has said that that presentation was excellent. Thank you for that, Cecily. We also have Jasmine, who is another current mentee of Nuggets of Life. And she says, thank you so much, Brian. Today's session was worth it. Thank you for that, Jasmine. And then now we have a question from Were, who says, my question is, how can I avoid being overly emotional in a conversation to speak out of reality instead of what I feel? So that's the question, Brian.
Exactly. So, where I don't know if I've pronounced your name well. Please forgive me if I haven't. So you're mentioning, yeah, you're talking about how you can avoid being emotional in conversations. So remember, between what stimulates us and how we respond, there is a time, and that time is what determines our response. So remember, I mentioned about us having to first define that which we are feeling, knowing how the emotion that you're feeling at that particular time. It could be other people intend to say, even their confidentiality is actually broken when they are too excited. So it's up to you now to understand, to say, okay, what I'm feeling is over excitement, and this may end up causing me problems because I may say things that I'm not supposed to say. It could be you are very, very angry. And when you're angry, you're supposed to first define this emotion. This is what I'm feeling, and this is not going to allow me to react. So that time between what stimulates you and how you respond, that time is really, really important. Remember the pause. You first stay calm, and please, it's not a crime for you to just, before you respond, you just take a few seconds just to analyze that. And I think that has been helpful to me when it comes to responding and not just reacting based on my emotions. So it is the time before you respond and when you are stimulated. So I hope I've answered your question, Were. And if there's any follow-up question, please do unmute your mic and just speak about it.
Yeah, thank you for that, Brian. Yeah, I think she's good. Joseph, I don't know, as a mentor, if you'd like to come into any of these responses, seeing as you know you've also interacted with these mentees a couple of times. So just feel free to let me know if you'd like to come in into any of the responses. Yeah, Joseph.
Yeah, just that's fine.
Okay.
What I wanted to say, like the participants have said, it's a very, very timely conversation.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm picking, and probably to also be answering some of the questions, is that the critical thing is that we should not, we should always stand up for our rights. And what we are being told is not to avoid conversations, but to tackle conversations in an intelligent way, because sometimes we may avoid, like I think someone asked a question about you want to avoid conflict by just, you just behave like you're staying calm, but you are all together being, maybe somebody is transgressing your rights. So it's important to stand up, engage, ask the questions, but now in an intelligent way, or in a way that is constructive, so that we get the answers and solve issues. So we should not avoid the conversation. We should always pursue the conversations. With an experience in the work field or in the job market, I see this as one of those things that really, hold people down. Because like Brian said, we have papers that help us get interviews, and we do the interviews, we get the jobs, then we start working. Then along the way, we remain, we remain stagnant. We don't progress. We don't move. We don't get promotions. So we just remain there, and we keep asking ourselves why. Then we have people coming in who are younger or probably not as qualified as we are, but within no much time they get promotions. And we start asking ourselves, why? What is it? And then sometimes we judge and assume that there is favorism and all that. And I think that happens even in school and in other areas where probably we feel like probably the lecturer or the administration is favoring others and not looking at us. And at the end of the day, when you look at it, you appreciate that it is all about emotional intelligence. Because those who are able to master the emotional intelligence aspect, they are able to navigate through and around their bosses, those around them, the authorities, and all that. And they eventually find themselves look like they are being favored, but they are more understood, they are more appreciated, and they are able to, grow up the ladder. So I think it's very important, and I just wanted to emphasize that part, that in the job market, sure, it is correct that if you don't master this, you can remain stagnant, not moving, and you keep wondering what is happening. So if you're able to polish up this, then one is able to, make progress, other things held constant. And I know it's easier said than done, but when you master it, I believe you're able to make progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that input, Joseph. That was really insightful. And we do have a couple of questions still, Brian, which I think maybe you can quickly just address also in the interest of time. I see we have about 12 minutes remaining. So someone here is asking, what do you do when the other person shuts down completely? Brian, you can help us address that question.
So the question is, what do you do when another person shuts down completely? So that's, first of all, you first notice that this person shuts down. You've already read the emotion itself. So what you have to do is now to understand what is the cause of this. Why has this person shut down? What could be the triggering factors to as why this person is reacting the way they are reacting? So after you understand what this person may have gone through, that's when now you are able to speak from the understanding that you have, from understanding their emotions. Remember, being emotionally intelligent does not only mean you are just able to manage your own emotions, but those of the people around you. Then you also look for things that would, in this way, trigger them positively. What conversation are they willing to have at that particular time? So by you understanding all those, I think you can get the feedback that you may need from that person, and in this case, you may also maintain the relationships. Then people are different. People react differently, and the way this person may react to this situation is different from the way another person may react. And in this case, there are people that may just need time to be alone. There are people that may just need um, time just to reflect. And it wouldn't be a good idea for you just to come in there and then to bring out the conversation. Remember, this person in at that stage, they are defensive, because to them that's what they believe. To them they could be broken, to them they could be disappointed, and they just completely shut down. So you just first have to understand, how does this person react to this. It could be through your past experience with that person, and they need time. You give them time. At some point you go back with that real conversation. Remember, do not also take much time to have that conversation, because it may be a problem in the future. So the earlier the better. But that doesn't mean that you do not you're not supposed to give the other person the time to just reflect on that which they're going through. So Hadide, I hope I've answered the question.
Yes. It seems Cecily is satisfied. Thank you so much for that, Brian. The other question from James is, how can I navigate public places at a time when I am defensive and sensitive to obstacles?
Great. So first of all, the most important thing that I've noticed is you've understood how you're feeling. And by you understanding, by you naming the emotion, by you acknowledging what you are feeling at that particular time, that already gives you a step ahead. Because in this case, you are able to react based on caution. You are able to to handle those emotions, because I mean, you know them, you know what you're feeling at that particular time. You've you, it could be through your past experience. You know that when I'm feeling like this, my response will be like that. Sometimes you may intend to avoid having conversations, but emotional intelligence also involves you considering the people around you, building those relationships, making sure that what you're feeling, the emotions that you've named, does not affect the relationships that you have. So in this case, you can just react. We react differently, but in this case, the fact that you already know how you're feeling, it means that when it comes to you giving a response, you know that you're already defensive. In this case, you know that you are already in high in your emotions. So what you're supposed to do, instead of you being defensive, you're supposed to respond calmly and take time. When a person wants to hear from you, you do not respond just there and then. Remember the pause. Between stimulus and response, there lies a space. And use that space. Before you respond, use that space. Choose the right words to use. Instead of you saying, I don't want, you can say, could there be a possibility that I can do this next time? You ask that question. So the pause in between is very, very important. So I think in response to that question, I would just say that.
James, I hope that is clear. Yeah, thank you so much. Wow, Brian, you're really acing these questions. So thank you so much for that. Now we had a question from Peter, which I see in a way has been answered by two of the attendees that we have here. So Peter asked, guide the conversation, don't try to control the person. Could we get a practical example of this? And then we had Mercy come in and she said, I think it's about asking open ended questions that address the behavior. And then Cecily went ahead and said, part of emotional intelligence is giving feedback, which is honest and not sugar coated. Feedback should focus on behavior that can be changed rather than focusing on the person, as this will make the person defensive. Focusing on behavior helps the person to appreciate, change, and grow.
Great, great. That is
Yeah, I don't know
amazing,
if you have
wonderful.
anything to say about that, Brian.
No, that is very, very amazing. It shows that the people on the call are very, very aware of the topic that we're talking about. And if holiday for me, if you see such responses, it means that we are moving together on the right page. I think that is very
Yeah,
wonderful. Thank you for
yeah.
so much for your response.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll take the last question here from Meshak again, who asks, what do you do when you've stretched that stayed calm and had the conversation well, but the other person is still reacted badly or the relationship didn't recover? Does emotional intelligence guarantee a good outcome, or is it just about making sure you did your part right, regardless of how they respond?
Exactly. So emotional intelligence does not guarantee you a positive outcome. So sometimes, like I mentioned, people react differently. You could be emotionally intelligent, way too emotionally intelligent than the person you are having that conversation with the person that you're having that situation with. And there are people that have just decided not to um just believe in whatever you're saying. So your role is just to play your part. Try by all means, use it could be the pause method to have those conversations. And if that cannot still yield the results, it's not your responsibility to to make them understand at that level when they actually choose not to. Because I mean, these are certain situations where people intend to even get physical because you are forcing them to to maybe you're forcing a donkey to drink water when they do not want. So for as long as you do your part, for as long as you try to save the relationship, for me I think that is being the bigger person in this conversation. That is being emotionally intelligent, because people are different and the way people other people react is different. Somebody may just come to you, it could be after they've had a conversation like we are having today, and they look back 1 year ago, they avoided such a conversation and they want to bring it back to actually resolve those issues that you had. And to you, you've already had that conversation and you're able to interact with them because you had initiated that conversation, but that other person was not in a space where they could have that conversation with you. But after some time, they are able to have that conversation with you. But in my response, I would say being emotionally intelligent does not really guarantee a positive outcome out of these conversations, but at least in most cases, it at least brings these conversations at that level, and depending on the type of a person that you're dealing with. So yeah, it depends with the type of person that you're dealing with. I hope I've answered the question.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Brian. Thank you for addressing these questions, for the insightful session. I think you guys can help me just appreciate Brian once more for this amazing session that we've had today. It's really been insightful. I think it has helped all of us because it cuts across personal life, professional life, really all areas of our life, and that's really amazing. So thank you so much, Brand, for gracing our Saturday morning with such good insights and such good enlightenment. I really appreciate you for just taking your time to be here. And I also appreciate each and every one of you for taking your time. You know, your Saturday morning, it's a bit cold if you're in Nairobi. So there are people who are sleeping right now. You decided to take that step, got into this session. you stayed here the full 2 hours. I appreciate you as well. So thank you so much, and kudos to you guys. I see Anne had asked there. She said, "This is my first time joining this call. I saw this on Instagram and signed up. Do they happen regularly?" Thank you so much, Anne. We are happy to have you here. These sessions usually happen bi-monthly, so after this one, we'll probably have the next one around September. But you can connect with us by following us on the social media, which has also been shared on the chat. You can check out our website, and you can just also join the WhatsApp channel. We put constant updates there, so you'll be on the lookout for anything that happens around here. And yeah, it's nice to know we have someone who's looking forward to joining more of these sessions. Thank you so much for the good comments about the session, for everyone who contributed on the chats. I know for most of you, if not all of you who are there, other than the mentees that we have, we're interacting for the first time, and it's just good to see, how impactful this has been even for you. So thank you, Cecily. Thank you, Jimmy, James. I see Hannah. Thank you so much. We also had Anne. Thank you, Meshach. And of course, the other mentees, we had Jasmine, we had Mercy, we had Mohammed, we had, guys, I'm overwhelmed. Honestly, I'm overwhelmed. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, without further ado, I don't want to take much of your time. I want to wish you guys a good weekend. Be sure to connect with us, by the way, on the socials and WhatsApp channel so that we can keep in touch, and you just see what Nuggets of Life is about. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, Brian, for being here as well. And I want to wish you guys a good, amazing weekend. Handle those tough conversations, practice your emotional intelligence. This is the time, guys. Coming from here, we are not only just listening, we're also going to apply these things to, our daily life. So it starts now. It starts now. So have a wonderful weekend, guys, and thank you so much for being here. Feel free to leave the session.